Good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Weissoon. If you enjoy real-world hunting and fishing talk, you're really going to enjoy listening to my good friend, Luke Clayton, and his guest for the next hour.
This is David Fox, and welcome to Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Luke has been a recognized outdoors writer for the past 3 decades and writes for a host of outdoor publications. Luke pens a weekly newspaper outdoors column that appears in over 40 Texas newspapers. Luke is on the pro staff of Pyramyd Air, your one-stop shop for everything air gun related. Smokin Tex electric smokers and AGM Global Vision, maker of an awesome line of thermal hunting scopes and spotters. Feel free to contact Luke through his website, catfishradio.org. Now let's join Luke and his guests for this week's show.
Well, thank you guys for that nice introduction, and Mr. Weissoon is right here with me. Larry, I hope you're doing well. We visited a little bit on the phone. I know you're doing good. You got a lot of stuff on the agenda, though, don't you, buddy?
We do. It is our time of the year.
Yep. Waiting
for that first little cool spell to kind of come through. But, we're so very fortunate. We've been doing this for a long time. And look, of course, Dallas Safari Club has been one of our sponsors for a long time. Conservation, education, and hunter advocacy. Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. Stealth Vision, the new optics that are made there in Crockett, Texas. Mossberg, whose rifles and shotguns are actually made down in here in Texas as well too. And of course we've got VINEYARDMAX that's been with us now for a while. So of course they're from Texas as well. So we're kind of a Texas based group out of this, all things that we're doing. When we get to hunt a lot of different places, but it's good to be home in Texas, and it is the tail end of August. And what happens then, you have to get ready in a lot of different ways for hunting season. And that includes getting a new hunting license, fishing license as well.
Here in Texas, I think on the 15th of August is when they went on sale. I believe that's right. But got to have a license. You mentioned the VINEYARDMAX. I've got Mr. Paul Moore, one of the principals with VINEYARDMAX. The deer. We're going to talk about deer attractant with Paul here in a little bit. He's supposed to call in, and it's the grape hull based deer attractant that you and I proved its worth in West Texas, where the deer didn't know about. They didn't know about grapes. But we'll get in. I want to make sure and cover all that with Paul. Deer surveys. I'm going to get to help you with a deer survey in a matter of days, aren't I?
Yes, sir. We're going to be up at the Cotton Ranch, and it is time to do surveys, get ready for our MLD permit that the state issues that allows that property to be hunted starting the first part of October and all the way through February. And what we'll be doing is going out at night and trying to get an idea as to what our population is in terms of numbers. I've got those guys being Paul and David and Mr. Edgar already doing a lot of work in terms of trying to get the number of bucks and does and fawns that they see. So, we'll have that information to couple with that. And then, of course, they've got their trail cameras up and all those kind of good things going on. And while you mentioned VINEYARDMAX, I need to make a statement, too, that I know that when we're getting together, I designed 2 knives for VINEYARDMAX and Silver Stag. And those are on sale now, but I've got a knife for both you and Jeff that next time we get together, and I think that'll probably be it that I need to give you. And, people are interested, pardon me, in those kind of knives, good hunting knives. They can go to that vineyardmax.net website as well, too, to see those, or silverstag.com. So, you got to have a sharp knife.
You do. And I've
skinned for the hunt season as well.
That's right, Larry. I've skinned enough deer with you. We like the same type of knife. I hate to admit it. I'm gonna tell on myself. I was out hunting hogs 3 nights ago, and I shot a good eating sow. Well, right. It was one of those impromptu hunts close to home, Now, if I'm going out somewhere, I've got my pack. I've got everything I need, But I'm going to stress the importance of a good knife. I was in my old pickup, and I had it parked a couple of 100 yards from where I was hunting. Well, I shot this good, perfect eating sow. Probably weighed about 140 pounds. And I started thinking, wait a minute, Luke, you took your pack out of the truck here last week because, you know, I did.
Yes.
But that you've looked in that toolbox on my truck. I've been told that I've got enough stuff to live for 6 months in that thing. I thought, wait a minute, I've got a fillet knife, a fish fillet knife of all things. Well, it was hot, and I was only a mile from home, but I didn't want to waste that time. I thought, wait a minute, I've got a fillet knife in the back of that truck. I went to work on that hog with a fillet knife, and it worked, but I had one of a proper skinning knife. So, folks, I tell you, Larry likes here's the kind of knife he likes to skin with. About the length, the blade is about the length of your index finger, something like, give or take. Not a long, big old knife, and I don't like one either. But you ought to watch Larry with that index finger on the top of that knife working around on a deer. It's a art form. Larry, a knife like that, I'm anxious to get that one. Boy, I am. Could I have ever used it on that hog? I'll tell you.
Well, I got a feeling that's not the only hog you're going to take.
Well, you're right. You're right there too. Yeah, you bet.
But you know, to me, any knife that's longer than your index finger is a waste of good metal, because you know you can't control in most situations unless you're cutting up meat. I mean, where you section out the muscles and you're cutting across. Yeah, then it's nice to have sometimes have a little bit longer blade. But for the most part, anything having to do with gutting, with skinning, with caping, and particularly, you know, a lot of times if we're hunting in a situation where somebody's taking a buck that, you know, they really want to they want to save the cape on that. Whether they use it on that animal or use it on another one, and then when you're gutting and you got to leave that breastbone, you know, intact. When you stick your hand in there and try to take out the heart and lung area, if you don't know where the tip of that knife is, it's pretty dangerous. So to me, that's where a lot of that comes into play. But to me, I can just handle a sharp bladed knife a whole lot better than a long bladed knife. And I've, like as you mentioned, I've been very fortunate, or maybe not so fortunate, to have to gut a tremendous number of animals and all those other kind of things. Because it's amazing when I'm in hunting camp how very often it's like, Larry, can you help me with this, or can you show me how to do this? You know, kind of, okay, get out of the way, let me get it done.
I'll tell a little more about Larry too. So the last deer that we field dressed together, I did it, and I thought I was going to get chewed out. So I shot a deer with Larry. I was hunting out in West Texas, and I'm just so used to. I'm not nearly as quick or fast. You know, I've only done 10,000. Larry's probably done 150,000. Anyway, I can get it done, but I kind of got my own methods, you know. And it's probably real slow compared to the way Larry does it. But anyway, I shot a doe out there, and I just proceeded to go my way that I always do it. And I like to field dress, we'll call it. Gut is another term. On the ground, I do. I like to do it on the ground because everything. Turn the deer up on its back and on the ground,
sir, because
everything stays down. So I thought I started that, and Larry, wait a minute. I'm going to take care of that for you. And I was already into it. You know, you remember that, Larry? I said,
I do.
Please let me do this, will you? But I do. I'm old school. I even carry a little old small hatchet. I do. You remember that? I know. I looked up and you were saying, "What is Luke doing with that cotton picking hatchet?" But it's just old school, the way I've done it forever. So I get it all done, and I take that couple of whacks on the pelvic bone, and then I'll put a knee on either leg and break that back end down. That's just the way I do it. But that little knife though, that I was using a smaller bladed knife. It wasn't one of our.
You were.
Yeah. And it just it makes it so much easier if you have a proper knife, Larry. You know,
it does. And you know, a lot of people use these replaceable blade knives, and if in a right situation, to me, there's a place for them. but it really out in the field, I've seen those things break. I've seen people put their fingers.
They scare the heck out of me. I'll be honest with you.
Me too. I've dealt with scalpels, many, many years ago, different things. But so to me, if somebody, that's what they like, that's good. But, there are times when you need something a lot more rigid than just that little, flimsy blade that you have on there. So that's my thoughts of it. We've
all got people. That's right. We've got friends that swear by them. So
absolutely
not neither good nor bad. Just whatever you're proficient with, really.
Yes, sir.
So the deer surveys that we're going to do down at the Cotton Ranch, that's over in Kaufman County, friends, and Kaufman County is about 40 minutes east of Dallas, southeast of Dallas.
Right.
The Cottons, our friends, they have they've got a good place that Larry helps them manage the deer on. I get to go over and of course, I hunt with the guys. They're friends, good friends of mine too. And but we do the drive-through and do the survey, and we did that last year. And they're already showing some. You've sent me some pictures of some what's going to be listed as shooter bucks already that's showing up on trail cameras.
Yes, sir. I'll tell you what, it looks like it's going to be a really good antler year kind of across the state anyway. I'm anxious to see. We're going to spend a little time on my lease out in West Texas for long, do some surveys out there as well, too. But just looking at some of the trail camera pictures that people have been sending, there's some pretty darn good bucks out there this year. Yeah. And the other side of that is just like one of the photos that I sent you from the Cotton Ranch, big old huge basic 6-point old buck, and probably as good as he ever going to be, but not the antlers that they want to try to produce on that property, but the body on that deer is absolutely phenomenal. So that's one that you and I are going to be looking for a little bit later on. But I'll tell you what, you and I both like venison, and my goodness, there's a bunch. As you told me when I showed you the picture, you go, there sure is a lot of venison on that buck.
Packing a lot of good meat. I'll tell you what, I think that particular deer, he's in the back end, he's in the front too, he's thick. I bet you he weighs close to 200, which is I don't care what anybody, for a free range deer, that's a big deer, it is.
Absolutely, and I think you're exactly right. It's going to be real interesting when we put him on the scale, if we're so fortunate to take him.
Yep. Well, maybe we can get him patterned to one of those food plots or one of those areas.
Oh, yes, sir.
I bet you through the whole course of the season that he's going to wind up hopefully in steaks. That's what our goal is, Larry. You know what?
Yes,
we're
sir.
out of time. We need to talk
as much.
I want to thank all of our radio stations, Larry, that's run our show you've been with me for going on now 17 years every week.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it's amazing, but thanks to all the stations that they could run all kind of outdoor shows, but they choose you and I and all our friends just shooting the breeze for about an hour. But
yes, sir.
I've been told that people, if they listen a little bit, they'll probably learn a thing or two with guys like yourself. Larry, we are out of time, buddy. I'll see you here in a few days over at the Cotton Ranch, and we'll spend some time looking for deer. How about that?
I'm looking forward to it. We'll see everybody back here again next week.
Folks, this segment is made possible by Ultrimatic Feeders. Go online to ultrimaticfeeders.com and check out the most awesome line of game feeders in the world. I've been using these things for 15 years, and I've got one that's been in the woods about 10 or 11 years. I forget exactly how long. Check them out, ultrimaticfeeders.com. Folks, I want to tell you about an awesome destination down at Lake Tawakoni. It's Wind Point Park. If you love the outdoors, if you like camping in an area, I bet I saw 60 deer. I was in there recently touring the place, went fishing down there. It's some awesome fishing, camping, long-term RV rentals overnight. There's some beautiful cabins, some bigger cabins and littler ones right there by fishing. You can walk out the door and fish at some of those places, but the place is neat as a pin. It's been around for 10 years. Wind Point Park, if you haven't been down there in the last 10 years, it's all remodeled and just beautiful. So check it out online. I think the website is windpointparktx.com. Of course, you can just Google Wind Point Park, Tawakoni, and pull it up. But I want you to know about it. You're going to be hearing old Luke talk about the fishing down there a lot. I've already done some bank fishing there, so you can catch a lot of blues, and you can also catch a ton of channel catfish along those rocks. Another thing I want to tell you about, VINEYARDMAX. The website is vineyardmax.net. They make an awesome line of game feeders, fish feeders. They're just an awesome product, but they also have a deer attractant. That's what I really want to tell you about. It's called VINEYARDMAX. It's made from dried, hammer-milled grape hulls and wheat bran, I think it is, or, ground-up wheat, and also some corn chops. So it's got stuff in it deer-like, plus it's got that scent of grapes that we've used it. Larry and I have used it out in West Texas where a deer have never seen a grape and had them come in on it. So check that out, and the website again is vineyardmax.net. Folks, this segment is made possible by Smokin Tex electric smokers that I've been using a long, long time, CatfishPro, catfishing baits and catfish supplies, Ultrimatic Feeders, and AGM Global Vision, maker of the spotters and thermal scopes that I hunt with. Well, friends, August is the month where people start thinking about deer hunting. People like me never stop thinking about deer hunting. But our guest is Mr. Paul Moore. We're going to talk about getting that buck or doe, or whatever we're hunting at the time, in for a good close bow shot or a good rifle shot. Paul, thank you, buddy. Are you ready to talk some deer hunting with me this morning?
I'll tell you what, I'm ready, Luke. Thank you for the opportunity. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, buddy. Folks, now Paul Moore has a company that's called VINEYARDMAX. You've heard me talking about the feeders and the fish feeders, the game feeders, and the attractant. Well, we're going to focus on the attractant. It's called VINEYARDMAX. It's a grape-based attractant. The deer smell. Now, we're going to get into all kind of scents and things like that. But, Paul, the bottom line is it's a grape-based thing. It didn't happen overnight the way you've produced it. It's dried grape skins that are hammer-milled, and the scent of grapes, I have learned in the year I've been using it, deer respond to that. Even deer that are not around grapes respond to it. So how did you come about the idea of grapes attracting deer?
Well, we've known for years that deer love grapes. There's not a vineyard anywhere, Luke, that does not have a high fence around it. Mm-hmm. We also know that out in the wild, deer love muscadine, Mustang grapes. The problem with that is when it comes time for deer season, they've already been all consumed by the deer. But I will be honest with you and the listeners out there today that VINEYARDMAX was started truly by accident. I thought I was going to take these grape skins left over from the winemaking process and make a flower bed mulch. But it became very evident to me very quickly that we had something way, way bigger than flower bed mulch. Although it works great to grow tomatoes in, I'm more interested in drawing in deer with it. So what we did was we came up with a way to dry these grape skins, and what we found during this process is that the deer actually liked the grape skins better dried than they did wet. And to your point, Luke, it's the aroma that brings them in, and then it's the sweetness that keeps them there. The aroma comes from the red grape skins that have been fermented before we get them, and then they're crushed, and then we get them and we dry them. Now, that sweetness that comes from VINEYARDMAX, that is mostly from the white grape skins that have not been fermented when we get them. They're just raw grapes that have been crushed for white wine, and we take them and we dry those as well, and we just mix them all together to come up with VINEYARDMAX. And then, of course, we put in a little bit of rice bran and corn chop. That's how it all started, Louis.
Paul, I'd like to share this with all of our friends listening, and it was what I call the acid test with me for the food attractant. I was hunting, and we've talked about this. It's been a while, but I was hunting out in far west Texas, out in Sterling County, with our buddy Larry Weissoon. We were out there taking to hunt doe. I was doing a muzzleloader hunt for an article and all that, like we usually do, and we filmed it. And this film, you can watch it too, folks. A Sportsman's Life. Just go back a few, and it's on Carbon TV, and it's on YouTube. But we're out there, and got my muzzleloader, Paul. You know the story, but I'm going to go out there and set in a blind, and in about 15 minutes, probably, after the feeder goes off, I'll probably shoot a doe, and then the next hunt, I'll shoot another one. That was my mindset, if you will. Well, I got out there, got in the blind, got situated, and the feeder went off. And shortly thereafter, it was covered. I was covered up in bucks, probably 4 bucks, and a couple of them were shooter bucks. I was not hunting bucks. We were on a meat hunt. No does. I saw 0 does. Well, so I had some VINEYARDMAX, the attractant, out there with me. Larry nor I had used it. So I come about the idea. I said, Larry, what's going on, buddy? Do you not have does out here? He said, he said, we're covered up in does. I said, well, look. He said, I know what's going on. He said, you didn't see anything but bucks, did you? And I said, only bucks. And that's all he saw. He was hunting another feeder. And our friend Jeff Rice was on another feeder. Well, we started baiting areas with the VINEYARDMAX, the grape smell. And I told him, this is an honest statement. I said, Larry, we could put out corn, and in 2 or 3 days, the deer are going to find the corn, and then we could probably hunt over it. Just isolated little pockets back in the cedars. That's what we were doing. But we're going to be gone in 2 or 3 days. We need something to get these deer on quick. So we baited. We put out, I think, 3 or 4 different piles, just poured it right out on the ground in prominent areas with little clearings back in the brush. Well, that afternoon, if you watch the video, then we go back into these spots, get downwind, walk back in them. I took that CVA muzzleloader and eased back in there. I thought, well, I'll just set up back here, had a little old folding chair with me. I'll set up back here on the edge of this little old clearing and shoot me, hopefully, a doe, if there are any in this part of the world, Well, when I eased up in there, I was 100 yards away. I could see there was some deer in there. Bottom line is, I shot a doe being right off the bat there with that was in, had the nose in that VINEYARDMAX. So will corn bring a deer in? You better believe it will. We all know that. But also, will it bring it in instant? Without that smell of those grapes, I wouldn't have killed it. We all shot does over the food attractant, Paul. So that was my first experience. That was my first experience,
news.
And I've used it.
Sir.
I've used it since then a lot. So it's a food attractant. It stimulates. Hunger is what drives them. Well, the other attractants, sex attractants. Preorbital gland. They rub that on the overhanging bush, and I've created scrapes during the peak of the rut or prior to the pre-rut. All that stuff works. It does. But,
absolutely. No, we use that. We use that as well. Yes, sir.
But it doesn't work. They always have to eat, and that's why. I even my feeders. I've got a couple of feeders close to my home where I live on some friends' land, 2 different places, and I mix it in the VINEYARDMAX. The reason I mix it in, the deer are patterned. Some of the deer are patterned to that feeder, but my theory is when that feeder motor goes off and slings all that out there, that scent hits the ground, and some deer that may not even know it's there smell it. So I think it's all about smelling those grape skins, and then hunger. It brings them in, Paul.
Absolutely. And I'll say this too, Luke, the way that you're doing it, layering that VINEYARDMAX in with your corn and in your feeders is really a great way to keep that aroma out all the time, because what happens is these grape skins are hammer milled, and those particles find themselves down in the grasses and the leaves and everything, and it's that aroma that just keeps out. So every single time that feeder goes off, you're throwing grape aroma all over the place. and it works really well that way. You can do like you guys did in Sterling City, dump it directly on the ground and hunt over it like that, bring them in very quickly. But to keep them in the area, 1 bag of VINEYARDMAX with 100 pounds of corn, 2 bags of corn, and just layer it in your feeder is an excellent way to introduce VINEYARDMAX to an area as well.
It is, and something else that I really haven't. Well, I have done it in a sense with the muzzleloader, and later actually I took another deer with a rifle after that hunt with it. But this was this early this year, you know. But bow hunting, positioning, you know, you can, when you're in a tree stand or even a ground blind, bow hunting, early season, if you will, and you see, you know, you're going to see a lot of deer that you're probably not going to get within an ethical bow shot of, or one moving through the brush. I'm going to use it to try to position deer, Paul. In other words, get up. I've got a couple of ladder stands is what I use here by the house. But position the deer. You know, see if this makes any sense. Instead of just a pile of corn, which the deer might come up and just, you don't know the body line, you don't know how that deer is going to turn his body to eat that pile of corn, but put a little, maybe 5 or 6 foot little string of it out in a position where that deer, when he comes in, he's going to turn sideways to you. That's the kind of, that's my mindset, some things that I want to do during bow season. And I know they're going to smell it, and I've learned that whether they've eaten a grape or not, when they smell that, it triggers the food, the eat instinct in them. So I think positioning deer, I think it's
absolutely
right. Yep.
And I was talking, Luke, just this weekend to Dusty Vickrey with Choctaw Hunting Lodge.
Yeah, right.
There in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. You know him.
Oh, he's a good friend. Yep.
Yes, and so he had a case of VINEYARDMAX, and he's got some really remote, rough areas on that ranch that they're wanting to start hunting with bows and hunt some really different areas. Mm-hmm. And these are areas that have never had a corn feeder.
Right.
And he just put some VINEYARDMAX out over course of last week. And this is in areas that have not been hunted. And he put some VINEYARDMAX out, and within hours he had deer coming in that he was getting on game camera. And that is another way to utilize this product, is if there's some areas that you're not able to get a game feeder in, that you want to hunt in a ladder stand, or you want to hunt in a climber in some really remote areas, 4-pound bag of VINEYARDMAX goes right in your backpack. Exactly. And you can go bait areas that would be a lot more difficult to get a 50-pound sack of corn in, I guarantee you. That was something that was really exciting to Dusty, that they're going to be utilizing on their ranch this coming fall.
I'll be up there with him in November with Larry hunting. I got a nice buck up there last year, and I'm anxious to hunt some of these remote spots. Paul, we are absolutely out of time. I'm going to get you back. We've just scratched the surface, but folks that want to, there's a lot of dealers around, but VINEYARDMAX.net is where they can go to find the attractant, or find a place that sells it, right?
Yes, and you can go right to our website and order it on our online store, and also our dealer locator is also on our website, right there at www.vineyardmax.net.
That's it, buddy. Well, I can attest to the fact that it works. I'll have some in my pack every time I go out this fall. Paul, thank you a lot, buddy. And I do want to get you back in a couple of weeks, and let's talk some more the subject of getting deer in close. How about that?
Love the opportunity. Thank you, Luke.
Folks, let's talk a little outdoor cooking. Let me tell you about an electric smoker that I've been using for 15 years, I guess. Smokin Tex electric smokers. If you're tired of staying up all night keeping that wood fire burning when you're barbecuing, give Smokin Tex a try. They're made to last a lifetime. You can check them out at smokintex.com. That's SMOKINTEX.com. Well, friends, Mr. Larry Weissoon is going to tell you about the finest hunting optics that we have ever found.
Look, these are called Stealth Vision. They come from Crockett, Texas. Dr. John McCall developed them. They're 34 millimeter tubes as opposed to the narrower tubes, so more light transmission. They have a little green light that comes on. That scope is level because that's when you want to pull the trigger. They have an optional lighted reticle as well too, and a whole lot of other products. And folks can learn more about them by going to stealthvision.com.
And for seasonings, anything to do with outdoor cooking, all kind of jerky seasonings, sausage seasonings, Butcher Packer Supply. That's butcherpackersupply.com. I think the website is butcher-packer.com. Folks, how about that little intro from Artist Tubb there? This segment here is brought to us by the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma, owned by the Choctaw Nation. Pyramyd Air, your one-stop shop for everything airgun related. Well, friends, what do you say we head up to southeast Oklahoma to the Choctaw Hunting Lodge and visit with a good friend of mine, Mr. Dusty Vickrey. That's kind of the head honcho. He runs the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up there. Dusty, thanks for taking a little time to be with me, buddy.
Hey, you bet, Luke. Anytime, man.
I always enjoy visiting with you, and I especially enjoy visiting with you up there at the Choctaw Hunting Lodge. Me and our buddy Larry Weissoon was up there together. Took a nice buck up there last year. I'm looking forward to getting up there with you. And maybe you got a fork horn with like 30-inch main beams. No, you've got some nice deer, big deer up there. And turkey, and I know you don't push the bear hunts very much, or maybe not much, but there's numerous black bear up in southeast Oklahoma. And Paul, for our folks that don't know about the Choctaw Hunting Lodge, it's, I don't know, 40,000 plus acres, something like that, of beautiful mountain country up there in southeast Oklahoma. A good reference point for me is from Paris, Texas, where I grew up just east of Paris over in Red River County. From Paris, you can be there in an hour, I guess, something. That's the area we're looking at, but it's owned by the Choctaw Nation, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're actually, where we're at. They do own 44,000 continuous acres. Where we're set up, we're set up on 22,000. So that's kind of where we do our thing.
Yep.
And
yep. It's mountainous. It really, I think it's called isn't it the Ty Valley, the name of the local?
That's where we're at, is Ty Valley. Yep. It's it's a unique place, Luke. I mean, it's, we're in the mountains down here, and you have a few places here and there where it kind of opens up a little bit, but for the most part, it's pretty rough country. But it's a really unique place, and I mean, you put that together with the lodge and everything we've got to offer, man. It's a cool place for sure.
One thing I haven't done up there, I've hunted hogs, I've hunted deer with you. Y'all have an area, big old 1,000 acres or so, for exotic hunting too, buffalo. One thing I haven't done, but I've seen those live creeks that I know they're spring fed. They got to be. That I think they run. Well, some of them run water most of the year, but there's got to be some good fishing in some of the deeper holes. I think you and Larry Weissoon did some fishing in those, didn't you?
We did, and it's kind of funny how all that plays out. But you can drive through. There's roads that goes all through this thing, and there's ponds all in these mountains. It's just kind of in the middle of nowhere. I mean, yeah. But and some of them are a lot easier to get to than others. But you'd be surprised. I mean, we fished every one you can kind of get to. We always stop and kind of fish in there, mess around a little bit. But man, there's fish in those things about everywhere you go. And the same way with that creek that kind of runs through this thing. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't think there'd be fish where they're at, as far as those ponds that are kind of off the path right there. But that's, Larry and I drove around that day just messing around, and I got lucky and caught a pretty good fish out of one. So
I saw the picture. You good bass, didn't you? Yeah, that's good. Well, so I want to. Yeah, it was. I'm sorry I missed that deal. That'd have been fun.
That was all skill. That was all
well,
skill,
it's
Luke.
man like yourself. I mean, I knew that. But,
I'd rather be lucky than good any day.
That's been the motto of my life, I think. But anyway, I want people to know about the Choctaw Hunting Lodge. If you will, just kind of tell people. You think of a lodge, well, I don't know. You conjure up different ideas, but one thing, it's a beautiful lodge, but it's hunting and fishing and mountain country. And tell us, what's available up there. I think that would help a lot of people that don't know about the Choctaw Hunting Lodge.
Well, to start with the lodge, Luke. I mean, that thing is 12,000 square feet. There's 7 bedrooms in that lodge. Each bedroom has its own bathroom, all those kind of things. So, when people come through here, I mean, you basically got your own place. And, that's kind of one of the big deals to me is, when you got a lot of people in here and different things, I mean, everybody's got their own spot,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, we'll start in October with our free range whitetail hunts. We're going to start, we're doing all the exotics and stuff now. Like you said, we have that 1,000-acre high fence that sits right behind the lodge, and we've got axis deer in there, fallow. We've got elk. We've got red stag. We've got aoudad in there. We'll have some whitetails as well. We've got scimitar oryx in that thing. We do some ram hunts, but we've got all of those options now as well. And, man, we run a lot of people through that thing as far as those exotic hunts goes.
You bet. Yep.
We'll do, springtime rolls around. We'll do our turkey hunts, and we'll do hog hunts too, throughout the winter right there. So, we do all those kind of things. But in the summertime, we rent that lodge out. People – you can rent it for the weekend. You can rent it for the week. You can do whatever you want to. But, there's a big lake right outside the lodge right there. And we've got a couple of boats we can put in that thing. And, people can just sit back and relax. They can fish. They can do whatever they want to do. But, we've got a lot of options, as far as whether people, if they're coming through here hunting or just want to come for a weekend deal,
mm-hmm.
Kind of in some of our downtime. And just hang out and see the place.
You bet. And I tell you what, your wife, Nicole, I know that she has a lot of help there at times, but I remember the last time I was up there, on that deer hunt last fall. Oh my gosh, the victuals, the food that, I never will forget that, the hamburger steak she cooked from some buffalo meat. I think it was, I'm still bragging on that. And I think when we started this deal here a little bit ago, I think you referred to me as the head honcho. But if you you really want to know the truth, Luke, I would say she's probably in charge when it comes right down to it. But man, she makes a lot of things happen. You're lucky to have that lady. She just she's a good cook and just a good, but she's fun too. You get up there, you'll like Dusty. You'll love his wife too. She's a jewel.
She makes it all go.
Makes it happen. Yep. But if you need somebody to skin a buffalo, you might want to get old Dusty out there. Dusty, let's talk about buffaloes. Buffalo hunting. I've got buddies here in Texas that have couple good friends that have exotic ranches. I won't just say meat hunts, but they do. People are right now. It seems to be very popular hunting bigger critters like buffalo. I've been on that 1,000 acres, that big fence. And those things. I mean, it's not like go out there and find one and shoot it. They can. I guess it's ingrained into a buffalo to be wild. I mean, that's one of the exotics it can be somewhat challenging, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's something about that high fence deal that we got. I mean, that thing hunts bigger than 1,000 acres just because it's so thick and
the hills and the terrain.
But we started those bison hunts 2 years ago, and man, that thing has become really, really popular. And we we do a couple of different things on that. We'll do the, some guys want a trophy bull. So we'll do the trophy bull hunts, but we also offer some meat hunts and stuff. Might be a cow buffalo, or we could, possibly like a young bull or something like that. But what I've seen, Luke, on that thing is, the guys that have come through here and shot the bison and done all that. I mean, a lot of them want to come back again, just for the meat. It's gotten really popular, and I like it even better when they leave me some of that meat, right before they leave, right there.
And especially if you can schedule that prior to a visit from old Luke.
I try to keep some of that on hand so we can have some of those hamburger steaks when you're here.
Oh my gosh, the best. Well,
but it's become very popular.
So I was just thinking when you're thinking about meat hunts, I know the trophy bulls and all that is a big draw, for people. So people are looking to put one on the wall or whatever. But just a thought, I don't know if you even do it or not, but say a couple of friends or man and wife that are looking for a hunt, yes, but they're looking for some some bison meat for the freezer. A couple of guys go up there. One of them could come as I don't know if that's even allowed, but to pay a nominal fee to be a guest there at the lodge.
No, it's not a problem at all, Luke.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do whatever we need to accommodate people. And if they want to do something like that, I mean, that's not a problem at all. And I mean, that's, I have some guys that come through for different things and bring their wives with them and stuff like that. And I mean, that's kind of that's the thing about the way that lodge is set up. If somebody wants to bring their wife with them or whatever, I mean, we've got enough room that we can make that happen. So I mean, however they want to set it up, it's not a problem. I mean, we can do it on our end. No issue.
I know, and you're very flexible with it too, Dusty. Well, to learn more about the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up there, I guess the best way is just go online, ChoctawHuntingLodge.com, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
We're on Facebook also, but you can check it out in both places there. And we're in the process now of updating the website and doing some stuff. I mean, we've got so many new things, going on now compared to a couple of years ago. So, all the info will be there. But like I said, just Facebook or ChoctawHuntingLodge.com, and that's where we're at, buddy.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm going to make a request. Have those trail cameras going for me, and if you can find that, I'll settle for a 20-inch fork horn this year.
let me see. I'll find you something real special, Luke.
And if there's
give me a couple weeks here, and I'll have it nailed down.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll see you soon, and thanks a lot for being with us, Dustin.
Hey, Luke, it's good talking to you, buddy.
Folks, this is Luke. For about the past decade, I've been hunting editor for Air Gun Hobbyist magazine. I think the only magazine devoted strictly to air gun shooting and hunting in the country. Well, in that length of time, I've learned quite a bit about big bore air guns and smaller calibers too. A spot to go to that if you're interested in air guns, you need to know about Pyramyd Air. The website is PYRAMYD, PyramydAir.com. They have anything and everything you need, from the guns themselves, the big bores or the smaller calibers, to the accessories. Just remember PyramydAir.com, and there's a number when you get on the website if you need to call and talk to somebody. Give them a buzz, and they can fill you in on little details that you might need to know about shooting or hunting with big bore air guns. While you're on the website there, I'd like you to check out the big bore air gun that I've done a great deal of hunting with. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw 50 caliber, pressures up to 3,000 psi, and it looks like a conventional rifle. Wooden stock. I think you'll like the appearance, and I know you'll like the performance. It shoots not only bullets, but also air bolts as well, tipped with a broadhead. Check it out. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw.
The snowflakes fall as winter comes, and time just seems to fly.
Friends, this segment is brought to us by CVA Muzzleloaders. In my opinion, the very best muzzleloaders in the world, the ones that I shoot. You can check them out online, CVA.com. AGM Global Vision, maker of the Rattler and the Adder that I use. You can check them out online too, agmglobalvision.com. Kuby's Wild Game Processing and Kuby's Restaurant in Dallas. And VINEYARDMAX, maker of some awesome deer attractant and some very fine game feeders and fish feeders, located down in Nacogdoches, Texas. Check them out at vineyardmax.net. Well, friends, let's head up to the White River, the beautiful White River up there in northern Arkansas, and check in with Mr. Jacob Hansen at Gaston's Resort, talk some trout fishing. Jacob, thanks for being with us, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Luke.
You know, it's the dog days of summer, but the truth of the matter is, up there on the White River, that old water coming out of the lower part of Bull Shoals is, I think you told me, something in the 60s. Is that right?
Oh, probably closer to 54, 52, 54 degrees. Yes, sir.
Oh, boy. I mean, that's why the trout fishing is so good up there. What I'd like to do, Jacob, is most people know where, honestly, the outdoor folks know where the White River is up in northern Arkansas, and most of them know where Gaston's is, but there's some folks that this is probably new to them. Gaston's been there since, I think, 1958. It's really a one-stop shop if you're going on the White River, folks. Let's get some fish catching, some trout catching info. Now, of course, we're approaching the tail end of August now, you know. September's just around the corner. Will there be a change in the patterns coming into September, or say by the end of September, Jacob?
Yeah, going into September, you know, the browns are kind of starting to, or the females are starting to get into their spawning cycle, so they're looking to fatten up and prepare to sit on their beds, you know, after they do their thing. But yeah, so they're actively out there just hunting up bait and fish and just trying to thicken up before they sit around for a couple months.
Mother Nature's telling them that before long it'll be time to do just that, right? You know.
Yeah, because you know, once they start sitting on those beds, like, you can still catch them, but they're more sitting there biting baits out of what's it called, aggravation versus hunger. You know, they're trying to keep stuff away from it.
Right, so, just a reaction strike, really. You know, when something comes through. Well, right now, say into the next few weeks, the early part of September, there's two patterns. I mean, you can fly fishermen, or you guys have a lot of fly fishermen that come in, but you also have people like me that had rather fish with spinning gear. As far as let's talk about the rainbows just a little bit, rainbow trout. If you're going out for a mess of fish, put it that way, a limit of fish, rainbows. Any good particular baits or anything working the best right now? You
know, if you're just wanting to go up there and catch some rainbows to make a meal with, you know, I just keep the old shrimp and power bait, sunrise power bait. You'll catch more than you'll know what to do with. If you want to catch some quality rainbows, throw on like a black or olive colored marabou jig, and that'll get you some big fish doing that.
Okay, kind of.
Absolutely.
Would you be bouncing those off the bottom, Jacob, or just?
Yep. Just a couple little pumps, let it fall. A couple little pumps and let it fall. Yep, just like that.
Yeah. So, really, I mean, folks, there's guides available there at Gaston's, or a lot of people come and rent a cabin, or you know, have a place to stay there. You've got plenty of all kind of cabins, and just fish off the bank, don't they?
Yeah, they fish off the bank. They rent boats. They bring boats. You know, all kinds of. We got a little bit of everything.
If you want to fish for a trout, the White River and Gaston's is a good place to go. Okay, well, so that, I think we've probably educated some people that are not aware. I've got a good buddy that Lance Tigris that was up there last week with y'all fishing. They caught the heck out of them. They're from down I don't know if you know those folks, but they're down, I think, down around College Station, down in there in southeast Texas, kind of. But yeah, they've been up there. He showed me a picture of a big German brown trout. What's the biggest German brown that you've seen last week or so, Jacob?
Last couple of weeks, I've seen 2 8s and 1 12-pounder come out.
Ooh, boy. Now that will tug on your line, whether it's a fly rod, especially if it's a fly rod, but a spinning rig or whatever. Let's do this. Let's hook people up. And I know folks are also planning fall trips. You know, right now they're planning them. Gastons.com Gastons.com, I guess, is about the easiest,
right?
Just
as simple as it gets. Yes, sir.
Gastons.com, and at some point they're going to wind up calling up there, and hopefully they can track you down. They're going to have some questions, but they can get the number off the website and, make plans. I guess you can. They really do need to talk to you to make plans before they start.
Yeah. So you can get on my website and see what type of accommodations I offer, but in order to check availability or to book anything, you're going to call in and talk to my phenomenal office staff here who's got a wealth of knowledge about our lodging and the fishing that's happening at the time. And talk to one of us and we'll get you going. Get you
fishing and lodged and fishing. I will mention this. There's a nice restaurant you folks have, and if you want to get your trout cleaned and cooked, you can eat your trout after you catch them later that day, right?
Absolutely. Also, Chef Rick starts his dinner specials on Thursdays through Saturday evenings, and man, by far in our area, that's hands down the best.
Okay, I know how busy you guys are, so you gave us some good information, Jacob. So basically, Gastons.com, folks, check them out online, and I promise you, it's an awesome place, and I look forward this fall or early winter, sometime in the next few months. Well, it'll probably be a little cooler when I get up there with you, but I'm sure looking forward to that, Jacob.
Well, we look forward to getting you up here, Luke.
Well, folks, that was Mr. Jacob Hansen. Jacob is the manager, the head honcho up there at Gastons, and he's a great guy. He's got a lot of information, too. They've got a team of guides up there that we're going to go up and hire us a guide for a day this fall. They even do shore lunches in the cooler weather months, probably starting in, I don't know when it starts, mid-September, definitely October. But you can go up there and, the guys fillet the catch right there and cook them out, have a fish fryer, grill them, whatever they want to do on the campsite. And that's going to be a lot of fun. We're planning on going up there and actually, of course, it'll give me a lot of fodder for my newspaper articles, but it'll also give us some great footage for our TV show that's A Sportsman's Life. So I want to remind everybody about that. You can go to YouTube, just type in A Sportsman's Life and find it. Carbon TV is where a lot of people watch it. CarbonTV.com, and just search out there. It's a weekly show. Larry Weissoon, Jeff Rice, and I do it. I think you'll enjoy it if you have time to do it. I want to thank all my guests. I want to definitely thank all the fine radio stations that run this. There's a lot of outdoor shows out there. Thank you guys, all of you, for running Catfish Radio. I've been on some of these stations since we started, way back there 16 and a half years ago. Hope you enjoyed the show, folks, and you be safe in the outdoors this week. And don't forget, now, this show becomes a podcast after all our radio stations run it. So wherever you get your podcast, iHeart, Apple, whatever, Catfish Radio with Luke Clayton and friends. Folks, that about wraps our show up for this week. I've enjoyed being with you, and I hope you've had a good time, too. This segment was made possible by AGM Global Vision, maker of the Rattler and the Adder, two awesome thermal scopes that I use for all my night hunting. Check out AGM, all the products that they have there online, agmglobalvision.com. And, folks, we're also brought to you by the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma, located about, 45 minutes west of Hugo, Oklahoma, owned by the Choctaw Nation. It's about 45,000 acres of awesome mountain, country, hills, valleys, loaded with game. Lots of eastern turkey, and they do eastern turkey hunts if you're looking for a spot to hunt turkey in the spring. Also, I want to remind you about the Seneca 50 caliber Dragon Claw that shoots bullets and pellets. And by pellets, I'm talking about 200 and 210 grain lead, chunks of lead. It's a big bore air gun that I use. Check out the Seneca Dragon Claw there at PyramydAir.com.